Hello, my name's Gavin. This is Genre Books, and I'm not at my desk today. It's early in the morning, it's cold, and I'm doing my 1,000 subscriber question and answer. People were kind enough to send me in some questions. I will do my best to give an answer now. The sound might be a little bit off today. That is just a consequence of not having my microphone with me. I'll have to deal with the iPhone mic for hopefully this one episode only. First question was from Mick Holland. I just watched your Read What You Own video. Almost there. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on the exercise. I suspect, based on the fact you've been selecting shorter books for the last few weeks, that it's become a bit of a chore. Did you get much out of the books that you've read recently, or is it simply a weight off your shoulders? It could be both, of course. Or do you have a particular book in mind that you intend to buy when you hit 100? Well, I came here to the lovely Hey on Why. There is the why. Purely so I could buy lots of books. And having booked the trip, this is the reason I've been reading so many short books recently. I have got as much out of them. A short book doesn't mean that you can't get engrossed in it. It can mean that sometimes you're left a little bit disappointed that there's not more, but I'd rather be disappointed that there's not a little bit more of a book than disappointed that there is too much of one. And as for a book I intend to buy, I'm buying all of the books, because this is the book town. Ren McQueen asks, is there a book that you think you should read, but you've been avoiding it for some reason? For me, it's War and Peace. Well, Ren, I'm with you on War and Peace. I haven't got to that yet. And you can add to that hundreds of other books. If I was going to pick one example, I'll just say the Brontes. I still need to read more Bronte sisters. I really want to. I have to find the time to do so. I would have taken part in the Bronte event, but I'd had conflicting events trying to get the 100 books read so that I could come here. So, or fail the challenge, which I didn't want to do. I'm going to switch paths. But as to why, I don't think I'm daunted. I don't think there's any particular reason, other than the reason I haven't read all of the books I haven't read yet. Simply time. Lola asks, what is your day job? Don't need full details, just curious what field you're in. Well, be curious no longer. It's the heady world of asset management. I worked for an investment manager in London in administration, organising the transfer of fixed income and derivatives for defined benefit pension schemes. Contain your excitement, please. We specialise in LDI, which is liability driven investment, where you take the excitement of asset management and inject the pure adrenaline of actuaries to figure out when people are going to die so you can invest appropriately to fund the pension. So yeah, you're glad you asked. Dolby Books says, tell us about your journey with books. Did you love books before you could even know, or before you even knew how to read? I'm proving I don't know how to read now. Was there another reader in your young life who inspired you, or was it an adult who nurtured your love of books? I don't know if I was inspired. I certainly wasn't inspired by someone reading in my family. My mother read books, my father did not. I wasn't inspired to read the books my mum was reading, I'll be honest. But I was nurtured into reading books. My early memories are of being in a library, and the excitement of getting to choose all of these was yeah, that was fantastic. So yes, I'm going to go with that. I can't remember loving books before I knew how to read. I can't remember before I knew how to read. Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading says or asks, why did you name your channel Genre Books? Now, let's go down here. Kelly's mentioned this before. Kelly feels I shouldn't have called my channel Genre Books. Kelly thinks I read too widely just to be genre. Right, well, let's take the practical reason first. I was going to call my channel something else, and I had got so far as to call the YouTube channel this name, and mocked up logo and all of the things that you do when you are beginning a booktube channel. I then realized that there was a podcast specializing in science fiction who had that exact name. That was annoying. So very quickly, because I did want to stick to my launch schedule, I had to change it and pick something that wasn't already picked, and I found it difficult. So I had to pick something fairly generic, and it probably doesn't get much more generic than Genre Books. Also, I had intended to be more focused on science fiction and fantasy and things like that than it ended up being. And that's okay. I quite like the way it's turned out. So, yeah. And Kelly, your channel is called Books I'm Not Reading, and yet you are always reading books. So, pot and kettle. We'll just take a quick break to enjoy the mists on the river and the dawn chorus. Well, that's quite enough of that. Who I think I am, Henry David Thoreau. Pat at Book Chat with Pat asks a number of questions. Do I have a favourite book from my childhood reading? Yeah, there's one I can remember absolutely being obsessed by as a novel. Rereading Star Stormers by Nicholas Fisk, which is probably one of the earliest science fiction books I read as well. I used to read a lot more non-fiction when I was a child as well. I think it was just wanting to know everything about the world. These days, I'm quite happy knowing a little bit less. She says, I know you studied literature at university. Who are your favourite authors from your studies, and do you still read them today? Well, I wouldn't have any problem reading them today. Some I still do. I think it was at university that I was introduced to Paul Auster, who I love, Nathaniel Hawthorne, who I also love, and although I already knew Shakespeare was obviously a part of university degree of English and American literature. So yes, I still read Shakespeare every year. I probably will not be picking up books again from Sir Philip Sidney, probably not Jacques Derrida, and I never really quite saw the big deal with William Congreve. Maybe I need to give him another go. How and when did you get into reading the pulps? That came from Project Gutenberg. So I was reading science fiction. I was reading some old science fiction. And I noticed that when I put certain authors' names into Project Gutenberg to find works, that I would find these short stories. And these short stories appeared in these pulps, which I had very little knowledge of. And then I found the original pulps through the Internet Archive, and very, very occasionally at a bookshop. And then I would find all of these other writers who I knew nothing about. And after I had done science fiction, then westerns and fantasy and horror and adventure and spicy pulps all came in as well. I have now read, I think, most categories of pulp. Not all the subcategories yet, but certainly all of the major categories. But they are an seemingly unending source of new literature. Not always the greatest, but always fun. You've mentioned your interests in music quite a few times. What role does music, composing, performing, listening, play in your life today? Well, fortunately, no one has to see me perform. I'm not very good. I play drums. I don't play keyboards or guitar or anything. But I can compose on a computer. So when I have performed, it's usually been behind a computer or behind a drum kit or behind a set of conga drums. And the last time I did that was probably about a quarter of a century ago. But as for composing, it's just a great relaxation. It's another thing to get into, to try get into the nitty gritty of, you can do deep dives. You can compose something very basically, then spend the rest of the day fiddling about with the compression on, the drums. So it appeals to my slightly obsessive nature with these things. It does mean that when I start composing and I get on a run, the reading drops off a little bit. And it also explains while the last few years I have been reading a lot, I haven't produced an awful lot of new tunes. Again, this is just a time management issue, and I'll have to do all these annoying day-to-day things like working. But as for listening, it's every day. And I love finding out new things as much as I like revisiting the old things. So, yes, don't read books, but I will listen to the same album again plenty of times in my life. Renee at Beyond Books has some questions. Name 4 authors, past or present, that you would invite to a dinner party and why? I had to give a little bit of thought to this because there'd be a lot of authors I would like to meet, but there would not be an awful lot of authors I would love to spend the evening with. Some of them can be challenging. And my first choice is not possibly going to be the greatest company, but I'm more and more intrigued by him. Possibly this is Philip Jose Farmer's fault. I have been reading about him as a character in the Riverworld series. I think the first writer would be Richard Francis Burton. I want to hear the stories of his life. Possibly would save me reading some of those bigger books of his as well. August Derleth. I'd like to have August Derleth there. Purely, I think, so I could thank him, because without him, there wouldn't be a lot of genre fiction in the horror space or the science fiction space as we know it today. I'm sure it would still be there in some form, but the form we have is in no small part down to him. Umberto Eco, that would be a good one. I think he'd get a kick out of the having the dinner with other dead authors as well. So I think his English is good enough for him to join in. So that's a consideration, I suppose. And I think Angela Carter, not only sort of a writer that I enjoy and admire, but I think someone who could probably go toe to toe with Richard Burton as well. Renee also asks, do I have any pets? No. There you go. It's a quick and easy answer. What's your favourite bookseller? Well, I'm in Hay on Wye. I think if I have one, It's here. And I'm probably just going to take the wusses option and say the entire town of Hay-on-Wye. Take it as a whole. Everything is within walking distance. Just treat the whole town as one big bookshop, one big bookseller. And there you have my favourite. And finally, from her, how many real life friends have you told about your accomplishment? I'm assuming you mean the accomplishment of 1,000 subscribers. Well, I've told none of my real friends this. I don't think any of my real life friends know that I have a booktube channel. So yeah, that's the answer. And the final questioner today is Gareth from Books, Songs and Other Magic. What were your favourite programmes on TV growing up? Well, this could be a whole nother channel. But I did have that 3-year stint in Zimbabwe where TV was very limited. So I had a few VHS cassettes which would be worn out. So there are certain films I have seen many, many times. Certain cartoons I have seen many, many times. But there is a whole 3 years of shared experience which I can't share with other people in the UK because I didn't have the telly experience. When I got back to the UK, however, there was still the lingering effects of folk horror on children's television. So I remember watching a program called Into the Labyrinth. That was good. And then there was all the science fiction growing up as well. So even in Zimbabwe, they had Star Trek, the original series. And I think probably the year after I came back is when The Next Generation started. And other science fiction as well. So Quantum Leap used to be a favourite and one I would be allowed to stay up for. Obviously, Blake 7, Doctor Who. And I'm probably forgetting a whole raft. But yes, those would be the main ones, I think. And final question, also from Gareth. What is my favourite science fiction book? I'm going to say What Mad Universe by Frederick Brown. It is a great idea. It is funny. It is smart. And it involves the pulps to some extent. But yeah, favourites change. If you ask me on another day, I might give you another answer. But there you go. It's a bit chilly. I'm going to go back. I haven't had a coffee yet, which is not like me. And thank you for subscribing. Thank you for continuing to subscribe. And thank you for putting up with the dodgy sound on this video. And until next time.